Susan Ellis, founder and president of Energize, an international training, consulting, and publishing firm specialized in volunteerism, is here today to speak with volunteer managers and leaders about effective ways on how to strengthen their volunteer corporations.
The reasons we named this seminar It Takes a Whole Organization is it's very much the logic of it takes a village to raise a child. And it really does take a whole organization to welcome volunteers. One of the things that is problematic often is that when there's a volunteer program manager, everyone is relieved, oh good, someone's handling that. Well, we have human resources managers, but somehow the executive gets involved with what's good for the paid staff. We have fundraising officers, but somehow the executive gets involved in whether we're raising money. You've got money donors and you have time donors. And there's fundraising, and we're dealing in people raising. The real reason, though, that it's so important for executive to be involved is that the volunteer coordinator does not have control over the whole organization. And issues such as setting goals and objectives for volunteer involvement, integrating volunteers into the strategy of the organization for future plans, holding all the staff accountable for being effective in working with volunteers. That's not something one paid staff member can do. It takes the person at the top to make sure that that happens.
I think it surprised the audience when she just said, well, why do you engage volunteers? And I think as a sector we don't ask that enough. Yes, we get volunteers in to do certain tasks. We engage a lot of volunteers here in Queensland, but Susan did challenge us to ask why.
I think that what I do well is pose good questions. A good question is worth 1,000 answers. And I believe that organizations are often relatively thoughtless about volunteers, and I try to push them to be thoughtful, because good people, competent people, caring people who want to do the best for their organization often just don't spend time thinking about volunteer issues. What I get out of it is I'm a campaigner on this. I mean, I'm an activist and advocate for volunteering. I truly believe in this. And I love to watch light bulbs go on. And it's fun because I've been privileged to work in 23 countries. And it seems to work no matter where I am, that this issue of pay attention and think it through.
What Susan said really reiterated a lot of my own thinking and my own organisation's thinking, is that it's not about the money. It's very much about providing that value-added service. I work in a hospital, and our volunteers provide that compassion, that time, that you couldn't really pay for. And if you did pay for that type of time, as Susan said, it all comes down to the client's perception of that person who's sitting with them and who's spending that time with a sick person, from, oh, you're paid to do this, even though you may be caring and kind, or, wow, you're here because you want to be here. You're not being paid to do this. So that is a different relationship.
There really needs to be buy-in at an executive level and real ownership of the volunteer workforce across all higher levels of our organisation. What I'm keen to see happen within our organisation is how we're going to get that to filter into areas of the organisation where, while their managers may have great buy-in with our strategic plan around volunteering, how we're going to get that to be transferred to the staff that work with volunteers or who could potentially include volunteers in the areas of their work.
I think the importance and the significance of an event like this to develop volunteer management skills is to allow volunteer managers to engage with other volunteer managers, but also, for example, with Susan Ellis, she's an internationally acclaimed pioneer for volunteerism, if you like. So, and to come and listen to her and hear what she's got to say and workshop through things with a kind of global perspective, it makes you realise that you're not working in isolation, and in fact all around the world people experience the same issues and should be striving for betterment.
As Susan Ellis continues to travel around the world asking critical questions regarding today's organization's volunteering managing structures, she commits to exploring the potential of cyberspace for the volunteer field. International volunteer managers are now more than ever in search of more knowledge, and are striving for more effective ways to integrate volunteering furthermore into organizations for better results.